Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Here in this video, we are going to get into all of your AMC stock news that you need to know today and what's going on with AMC stock right now with the data and what happened last week. So let's get started. Hit the like button and or subscribe to the channel, or both if you're feeling freaky today and want to do something that costs free $99. It's kind of a privilege when you're taxed on your money, and then you're taxed on your house, and then you're taxed on your car and taxed to drive the roads. You can always hit the like button for free and you're not taxed on that, baby. So let's get into it. AMC stock was up 7% on Friday. AMC stock has bounced quite a bit from the low of $3.58 per share. I've been calling for this for a while, but I do think this is probably a sustainable bounce. It all depends on what Adam Aaron does, what the earnings have in store for us. And I don't think it's really about the earnings. Let's be honest. Earnings will be later this month. I don't think anyone's going to be super surprised if Adam Aaron and AMC say, hey, 2024 is going to be a rough year, right? We kind of know that. As long as AMC does not go back to losing hundreds of millions of dollars a quarter, if they can keep that loss like 40 to 80 million a quarter, that would be, I think, okay to the market. Still not wonderful, but you know, as long as it's not going to be an utter disaster, I think we're pretty well braced for that. And I think AMC stock priced that in, be it it's $4.38 per share. There's no fluff in AMC. There's no hype in AMC. You are getting the stock at a fundamental valuation. Now, that's specifically why I actually like this stock right here, is because there's no fluff. There's no hype. Whereas I know what the potential is for AMC and the attention and fluff that could get into AMC stock. For good reason, there is no fluff in AMC though, right? For every, causation, there's a reaction, or however that saying goes. And the reason why that is there's no fluff is Adam Aaron has been selling stock like he's drunk. I mean, just drunk one day. Ooh, let's sell 40 million shares. Let's convert 25 million of equity and pay off our debt and just convert the debt into equity. He's been doing it at like the worst times ever as well. So AMC has been a very easy short here, but I do think it's inevitable. I mean, I've said it before and I'll say it again, so I don't want to stick on it too long. We are going to get a commitment to not seeing dilution. Adam Aaron is not going to be able to dilute shareholders, because if he does, then AMC stock's going to fall likely into the $2 range. And then at that point, we're never getting the stock up. Let's be honest. If AMC falls to the $1, $2 range, it is going to be astronomically hard to get AMC stock higher. And it's almost like a curse and a blessing at this point, because Adam Aaron is forced to get AMC stock higher, even though he would love to continue to sell stock to you on the markets and dilute you. He cannot do that. Okay, he has to get AMC stock higher to sell debt, sell equity at higher prices to be able to survive as a company. And that's why Adam Aaron has shown his frustration on X a couple of times. So those are reasons why I do think this rally is sustainable. We will be getting a commitment to not diluting shareholders likely here soon. It's the only real card that they can pull to get AMC stock higher. And I think that's a checkmate to the short sellers, if you will. So had a pretty strong last week. AMC stock up 7% on Friday. The day before that, up 4%. The day before that, you were down 3%. But the day before that, on February 6th, you were up about 11%. So yeah, a little bit of a curse and a blessing. Hopefully it turns into more of a blessing here over the next couple of weeks. Now, let's take a look at the Ortex data. Keep in mind, I don't think these numbers are accurate, but these are the numbers people are going to look at when AMC stock starts to get some more fluff into it, when people start to get more excited on AMC and the potential for a short squeeze. They're going to look at the Ortex data. They're going to look at their data platform and say, hey, what's the short interest of AMC? Be it it's 7% or 20%, makes a very big difference on whether people want to jump into a potential short squeeze trade, right? 7%, like we were at recently, really doesn't entice anyone. 20%, even 12% is decent, but I do think it will continue to trend higher to probably about 20 over, the next 1 to 2 months. I do think the short interest of free float is around 200%, but that's just my personal opinion. And I think it'll start to leak in or kind of leak into the real short interest data, as some shorts have a hard time hiding their short positions. But again, you do have 12.05% short interest of free float, $123.5 million worth of short positions, days to cover 1.64, 30.2 million shares that are currently sold short, shares on a loan 34.28 million, cost to borrow 1.08%, utilization of 50.84%, and a short score of 64.03 out of 100. So, not the most exciting numbers, but still better than where they have been. That's for sure. We've been trending in the right direction, and the trend is your friend. So definitely could be worse there. On Friday, we did have 8 orders totaling $212,000 with a positive order value of 65%. So a little bit higher of that dollar amount in hedge fund institutional option activity. If we take a look at some of these trades in specific, February 23rd, $4 call, a February 23rd, $3.50 call. These trades worth about $52,000 and $31,000. January 17th, $1 put, worth about $11,000. I think those really low trades, like the 2025 $1 puts, are more so being used to just hide short positions than actually trying to, bet that AMC is going to fall to $1 per share. Because this trade, this January 17, 2025 $1 put, and these guys are buying it for about $14 a piece. That is saying that AMC stock will reach 86 cents or lower. I don't see that happening in the slightest. So yeah, that trade just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. If you take a look at the option activity for last week, you had volume of about 80.5% and to the call side, and about 19.34% to the put side. If we take a look at the week ahead, we had volume of about 79% and volume to the call side about 79%, volume to the put side of about 20%. If you take a look at the open interest, 67% to the call side and 32.5% to the put side. So over a 2-to-1 ratio there, almost a 3-to-1 ratio for 3 times as many calls compared to puts. So looks decent over there. If we take a look at stock twits and the sentiment barometers for AMC, I like to do this because it gives you a good gauge of how retail investors are feeling, which sometimes it's hard to, put that into an actual statistic. Keep in mind, it is the weekend, so I don't expect a lot of people to be talking about AMC. A lot of people do go away, and especially today is, the Super Bowl. I don't think anyone really cares about the 2 teams that are playing. I think it's kind of dragged at this point. I think the Lions definitely had a script for the second half of that game to not catch a single ball, to force fumbles, all of that. But that's a topic for probably not a video. But nonetheless, I don't expect a lot of people are going to watch this video. I don't expect a lot of people are talking about stocks today, nonetheless. But you are bearish in the sentiment at 39. Yesterday, you were at 75. So yesterday, I think, is a little bit more telling than today, given those factors that I just mentioned. Message volume is higher today than it was yesterday, which is interesting, at 71. Yesterday, it was at 62. So it looks pretty good there. And the participation ratio actually has been getting higher. And this measures the number of unique accounts posting on a stream relative to the number of total messages on the stream. A good participation ratio would be like if 10 accounts posted 1 message apiece instead of 1 account posting, 10 messages, right? So you're getting more people talking about the stock. So when you actually get the participation ratio higher, that's going to be very, very good. Now, as far as the broader markets and where we are currently at, you've seen the percentage of stocks above their 50-day moving average increase to about 54.5%. This is still way off of your high of about 86%, but you're way higher than your low of about 20% you've seen back here in October and November. Now, what's actually interesting is, again, the markets themselves really have not been doing too much. The S&P 500 at all-time highs, and I mean, the percentage of stocks falling so much is like weird, right? It's a top-heavy market. Now, I will say the Russell 2000 looks like it wants to break out from here, and we'll see what happens. On Friday, IWM was up 1.63%. It was the best performing index out there, and potentially it will continue to be the best performing index out there. I really think NVIDIA earnings, NVIDIA sold off the last 3 of their earnings anywhere from 10 to 20% over the next month or so following NVIDIA's earnings, even though they've done very well. If there's any weakness this quarter, well, they could fall quite a bit. That's pretty obvious. But either way, you're probably set up for a 10 to 20% decline over the course of, the next month after earnings. And that's when I think the markets will widen out here. But that's just really my personal opinion. If we take a look at the stock tracker data for this upcoming week, see, you do have about 23,000 calls currently in the money, about 80,000 calls out the money. 20,000 puts in the money and about 30,000 puts that are out the money. So a decent amount of option activity, that's for sure, that could help move the markets, right? Or move AMC specifically. Depending on what the markets do, well, that will affect AMC for better or for worse. And coming this week, there's going to be some pretty crazy things happening in the markets. Some very, very big data that we need to be watching for that will specifically move the odds of Fed rate cuts. So actually, the good news that we got on Friday is inflation was revised lower. So inflation initially last month, headline, came in 0.3% month over month. The government actually revised that down on Friday to 0.2%. And that is the big reason why the Russell 2000 was the big outperformer. The Russell 2000 was up 1.5%. The Dow was actually negative. The NASDAQ was up 1.25% too, but the S&P 500 was only up a half of 1%. The Russell 2000 3x outperformed the S&P. So if you get another good inflation report coming out this upcoming week, and that's going to be on Tuesday, the Russell 2000 should do very well. And I think that would help cause a broadening out of this market. I think NVIDIA in that case would probably give some of potentially their gain back. And why I like to pick on NVIDIA right now is because NVIDIA has sucked so much money out of different areas of our markets. The stock's a $1.9 trillion company right now. In the last 6 weeks, the stock has gained over $600 billion of value. Actually, when you look at the S&P 500 itself, you've actually seen negative inflows to the markets of about $35 billion year to date. Almost $37 billion since the start of 2024. It's been a very rough year for actual money into our markets. It hasn't been coming into our markets. If anything, it's been leaving our markets, but stocks continue to hit new all-time highs. NVIDIA continues to go crazy and suck $600 billion out of lower parts of our markets, which is AMC, which is other stocks, the Russell really in particular, and it's headed into NVIDIA. If you do get a good CPI report that suggests maybe we should be in small cap stocks over something like an NVIDIA, that could be great news for the Russell and potentially bad news for NVIDIA. So we'll get into everything going on this week as far as your economic data, my expectations in the next video, as well as a price prediction for AMC stock. So let me know what you think about this information down below in the comment section. Hit the like button as well as subscribe to the channel. You guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you in the next one.